Afghanistan, a small country in the heart of Asia, has long been a battleground for the world's great powers. Behind its rugged mountains and barren plains lies a long and repetitive history that tarnishes the ambitions of conquerors. Afghanistan's history is not just a myth, as it has witnessed the defeat of three major world powers: Britain, the Soviet Union, and the United States. Throughout its history, a pattern has emerged where foreign powers attempting to conquer Afghanistan become entangled in long and exhausting wars, ultimately surrendering and retreating in shame. The story of how the Taliban successfully ousted the United States in 2021 is the latest peak of this historical pattern. In a narrative that unfolds like a great drama, Afghanistan once again proves that no amount of advanced technology can defeat the spirit of a people fighting for their homeland. In the 19th century, the British Empire, then the largest colonial power in the world, viewed Afghanistan as a strategic territory. Fearing the influence of the Soviet Union in Central Asia, which could threaten their control over India, the British launched the First Anglo-Afghan War in 1839. The British invaded Afghanistan with a large army, occupying Kabul and establishing a puppet government under Shah Shuja. However, the Afghan people, who had been occupied by foreign powers, launched a fierce resistance using guerrilla tactics. In 1842, British forces attempting to retreat from Kabul to Jalalabad were ambushed in the Khyber Pass. Of the 16,500 people who retreated, only one survived, a doctor named William Brittain. This defeat was a significant blow to the British, who were eventually forced to recognize Afghanistan's independence. Decades later, the British attempted another war from 1878 to 1880 and again faced fierce resistance from the Afghan people, particularly under the leadership of Ayub Khan. Once more, the British failed to fully conquer Afghanistan. The Third Anglo-Afghan War in 1919 marked the end of British ambitions in Afghanistan. Emir Amanullah Khan declared full independence for his country, and the Treaty of Rawalpindi confirmed British recognition of this independence. Afghanistan achieved victory once again. At the end of the 20th century, it was the Soviet Union's turn to be tempted to interfere in Afghanistan's affairs. In 1979, Afghanistan was in the midst of a political crisis with power struggles between communist factions. The Soviet Union, fearing the growing influence of the United States in the region, decided to invade Afghanistan. A large-scale military operation began in December 1979, with the aim of supporting the pro-Soviet communist government and crushing the Mujahideen rebel groups. However, this invasion turned into a nightmare for the Soviets. The Mujahideen, supported by weapons and funding from the United States, Pakistan, and other Western countries, employed deadly guerrilla tactics. The harsh terrain of Afghanistan, from mountains to narrow caves, became a natural ally for them. Brutal air and ground attacks by the Soviets failed to subdue the resistance. Meanwhile, international pressure on the Soviet Union continued to mount. After a decade of war, in 1988, the Soviet Union finally signed the Geneva Accords, which stipulated the withdrawal of their forces from Afghanistan. This withdrawal was completed in February 1989, leaving a power vacuum that was later filled by local armed groups, including the Taliban. The emergence of the Taliban in the mid-1990s was rooted in the chaos following the Soviet withdrawal. This militant group, initially supported by a network of madrasas in Pakistan, evolved into a major force that controlled much of Afghanistan. In 2001, following the September 11th attacks, the United States launched an invasion of Afghanistan to overthrow the Taliban and destroy the al-Qaeda network operating under their protection. The Taliban employed a simple yet deadly strategy. They utilized their in-depth knowledge of Afghanistan's terrain to launch unexpected attacks. Every village, cave, and rocky road became a trap ready to destroy foreign forces. They also used propaganda to portray themselves as protectors of Afghan traditions and homeland, especially among the rural population. In August 2021, the world witnessed a dramatic moment when the United States decided to withdraw all its forces from Afghanistan. Kabul airport turned into a chaotic scene, with helicopters hovering above the embassy to evacuate panicked diplomats. Meanwhile, thousands of Afghans crowded the runway, even clinging to the bodies of planes in a desperate bid to escape. For the Taliban, this was not just a military victory. It was a symbol that a local force with limited resources could defeat a superpower with unmatched technology and budget. Billions of dollars worth of military equipment left behind became war booty that they proudly displayed. On the other hand, for the United States, this was a defeat that damaged their global reputation. 20 years of war, costing over $2.3 trillion, and over 2,400 soldiers' lives lost. It all ended without tangible results. Afghanistan returned to the Taliban's hands, proving once again that this land cannot be conquered. The long history of defeats of the British, Soviet, and American empires in Afghanistan shows one very clear thing: this land has a unique way of resisting invaders. Its people, living amidst natural hardships, possess an unshakable spirit of resistance. They understand that war is not just about weapons, but also about endurance, patience, and the ability to read the terrain. Afghanistan serves as a reminder that even the greatest military powers can fall to small but determined resistance. This is the graveyard of empires, where grand ambitions come to die.